Yeah. Ooh, no, it makes talks okay. But just so we can be aware of everyone's time, so we're going to get moving. But hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your day today to join us. My name is Susanna Shigo, and I'm a regional director here at AIFS Study Abroad. I oversee our relationship with university partners in NASA Regions 3, 5, and 6. Prior to joining this role, I worked specifically with our customized programs. And then previous to that, I worked as our program advisor, and I worked with all of our students pre-application. Prior to that, I was actually a student with AIFS. I studied abroad in the spring of 2015 in London. So that's kind of my long transition through the AIFS family. Paula?
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Paula Messina. Pronouns she, her, hers. I am a university relations representative for customized faculty-led programs. I'm based in Los Angeles. I guess I'll do a prior to that too, just like Susanna, to keep with the theme. I was the AIFS resident director for our program at the University of Granada in Spain, where I spent 25 years doing that job. And before that, I was an AIFS student as well. I was on the first cohort of AIFS students at the University of Granada. So after graduation, I went back and became the AIFS RD. I am also, or just fun fact, because we're doing funding, I helped fund my study abroad experience by delivering newspapers. 2 years I spent delivering newspapers. So that also ages me, because I know we don't deliver newspapers anymore, but I did that in college and that was kind of my independent travel fund. So that helped a lot. That was really good. It also paid for a lot of my meals. So awesome. So I think we're going to jump into it. We do have some random people joining us, but like Susanna said, we'll be sending you all the recordings, so anyone who misses the first bit will be able to watch it later.
Yeah, and also just as a heads up, everyone is muted as of now, just for continuity through it. We'll have time at the end for kind of like a Q&A session. So if you did want to unmute them, please feel free to let us know. But yeah, and if you don't want your video on the recording, please feel free to shut that off. Don't worry about that at all.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to start our creative virtual funding, and we want to give you lots of hints, lots of tips, lots of really good practical information that you can apply. But before that, we want you to think a little bit about the value of study abroad, right? We know it's a huge investment. It's a huge investment financially, obviously. It's a huge it's a huge investment time-wise, right? Taking time away from your normal life, maybe away from your college academic plan, or hopefully not. Hopefully the credits that you take while you're abroad will definitely count towards your degree. It's a huge investment in your education and in your future as well. And that's what I'm getting at, right? Having study abroad on your transcript, having study abroad on your resume later on, featuring prominently in the education portion of your resume, will really help set you apart. Fewer than 10% of US college students study abroad. So having that on your resume will help you stand out among 90% of your peers. So it's an investment that's got a lot of return on that investment, right? It's a lot of ROI for all of you education and business majors. We know that that is important, and it's worth it in the long run. We're going to prove our point by giving you some data. So our first poll, and you can participate in the poll by putting an answer A, B, C, or D in the chat box. But according to the Institute of International Education, they do a report every year. How many students, how many US undergraduates studied abroad during the 2018-2019 year, which was our last sort of normal year for study abroad in recent history? Was it 347,000? Was it 554,000? Was it 671,000? Or was it 984,000, nearly 1 million students? How many students do you think studied abroad across the country? Put your answer in the chat. Suzanne is going to kind of give us a little summary. we
We have
decided to do it informally instead of a
Yeah.
poll.
We have a few A's, we have a few B's, a D, a C, a couple more A's
Right.
thrown in there.
Well, knowing that we have nearly 20 million US undergrads across the country, the actual answer is A, 347,000, a tiny amount really when we think about all of those college students across the country, right? So that kind of just proves our point that having study abroad on your resume helps you stand out. Suze.
Yeah, so going into it, both for students and for those advisors that are here and advising students, the most important thing going into study abroad, we always tell our students, is to plan ahead. And that's not only planning ahead when it comes to courses or planning ahead when it comes to figuring out where you want to go or when, but also finances play a huge role in that. Study abroad costs money. It's kind of, it's out there and it's true. But if students plan ahead when it comes to finances, it really makes it a lot easier going into the long run. I know that this was a really important piece for me when it came to study abroad. I was on school on scholarship. I didn't have a ton of money to spend, but I had to study abroad for my major in order to graduate. And so it was really stressful for me going into it thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to pay for this? So sitting down with students seek out the financial aid office on campus or the study abroad office so you can sit down with them and go through it. Understand how much are the program fees, what's included in a program. Everyone is different. There isn't a one size fits all in terms of study abroad. You have to pick the one that's best for you, not only in your academic goals, but in your financial goals. Is it way too out of your price point? Is it going to really stress you out? Maybe that's not the best option. Maybe you should find something and sacrifice something in a different place as opposed to really going above and beyond and then not knowing what comes next. Also look at the fees that are not included. So how much will you need to get there? That's a big piece. Is there a passport? Do you have a passport? Do you know how much that costs? Do you know how long that takes? Look into insurance options. Do you need to upgrade based off of XYZ? Plan ahead. Look at homeschool tuition. How much are you getting to go to school now? Do you have scholarships, grants, anything that can go toward your time abroad? Have those conversations early so that you're not stressed when it comes to those deadlines. Also, knowing your finances ahead of time will help you look into scholarships and give you enough time with those moving forward.
How about doing a spreadsheet, right?
I love a good Excel spreadsheet, color-coded. It's my jam. So I definitely recommend a
spreadsheet. Sorry.
For sure.
My bad.
No worries.
Yeah. Right.
So then in terms of taking advantage of available resources, start with what you have. That's kind of the key. So think about, can my financial aid package that I'm currently getting now to go to school be applied to any of my study abroad expenses? Make sure you fill out your FAFSA. It opens October 1st for the next school year. You don't know if you don't do it. So look into that, apply to that. Grants like the Pell or state grant, college grants are their money and they could potentially go toward your time abroad, but they all have deadlines. So make sure you keep track of that. Talk to the financial aid office. I know that I always direct students back to the financial aid office. As much as I would love to advise you about financial aid, I am not the best person to answer those questions. Your financial aid office knows you, knows your school, knows your packages, and they're able to explain it in a way that makes sense and in a clear way to outline everything. Also, while you're there, ask about scholarships. Are there any internal scholarships that you can apply to that maybe aren't advertised, but if you ask, you might get one. Also, look, financial aid can include subsidized and unsubsidized loans, so consider that. And then when it comes to scholarships, apply.
Yeah, I like the mention about the loans because a lot of students think financial aid is grants and only. And instead of taking out a bank loan or putting it on a credit card, making sure that you've applied for financial aid, even though you may not qualify for a grant, but you could qualify for a subsidized or even an unsubsidized loan will be at a much better rate than a bank would be. So definitely, as a student, you want to look into those. Today, Suzanne's going to take this slide, but just to set it up, that we're not going to focus a lot on scholarships, but it is a big source of funding, so we did want to mention some of them.
Definitely. And that plays into scholarships exactly on all levels. But kind of the general theme when it comes to this is apply for everything. You don't know if you don't look, and you don't get if you don't apply. So even if you don't think you're going to get one, maybe it's worth it just to submit an application. An extra $100 can really go kind of pretty far when it comes to study abroad. That could be 3 meals, that could be 4 meals. So it comes down to budgeting. That could be a passport. So things like that are important to consider. So again, I love a color-coded spreadsheet. I highly recommend it for this. Make a new tab in your Excel that goes through your finances, but organize all of your applications. So do a quick Google search, pull up study abroad scholarships, list the name, how much money it's for, what's the requirement, and also the deadline, just so you can stay on top of those. Most deadlines, I will say, when it comes to scholarships, are not flexible. So you really want to apply before that deadline to make sure you have the best chance. We're going to talk about personal statements a little later, but tell your story. It's really important that you say who you are and why this money will help you moving forward in your study abroad experience. And we've all seen it, and our advisor friends that are here know the power of a good recommendation letter or two, but they also know with recommendation letters, they ask that you please plan ahead. So get these early that you can use moving forward, so that you're not going the day before the scholarship is due to say, hey, I really, really need this. And that puts an additional burden on them. They want to do it for you, but just make sure you plan early so you don't miss out on this. We've listed some scholarships to look into when it comes to study abroad, and we'll include these as links in our follow-up email so that you can refer back to them. But some of them are really great to look at. They have scholarships for all different types of programs or people. But again, look at everything, apply to as many as you can, and plan early.
Exactly. Yeah, I like the one studyabroad.com has a lot of links to not only study abroad scholarships, but scholarships that apply to all different kinds of college students. So they're not just limiting them to study abroad. So that's good. Here's more. We have more links. These are great databases. You might find repeat scholarships on these different databases. That might happen. And then look into other sources of scholarships for college students, like large corporations, Coca-Cola, Ford, Staples, work scholarships. Most college students have part-time jobs. Do they offer scholarships if you work at McDonald's, or you're maybe a grocery clerk? My son works at Vaughn's Supermarkets. He's part of a union. His union offers yearly scholarships. Some of your parents may work for large corporations, such as here in Southern California, we have a lot of parents that work for Disney. Do they match scholarships? So if you are able to win a scholarship and you bring it to your parents' company, will they match or give you some kind of supplement? There's lots of wildcard scholarships. We've heard of left-handed scholarships, heritage scholarships, that's important. And then local organizations, especially if you have a parent who, or grandparent or aunt, uncle who is a member of these local organizations. Are they supportive of higher education and especially international education? So look into all of that. We wanted to just highlight that AIFS does award over $800,000 worth of scholarships per year. So for our summer, fall, spring, and January term students, we offer over $800,000 worth of scholarships. Per term, we have around 13 scholarships and 3 grants. So that's automatic free money if you qualify. For students going on an AIFS program, the amounts vary, anything from $200 to $10,000. We have one scholarship that is that much, and it counts as program fee reductions because, again, to qualify, you have to be going on an AIFS program. Deadlines vary because we have cycles per term. But if you are applying for, correct me if I'm wrong, Suze, if you're applying for a summer or spring program, or the deadline is November 1 or J term. And for fall programs, the deadline is April 15. So that is early. It's good because the decision for the scholarships are early, and then you can plan your finances accordingly. You can apply, you can download the paper application right on our website, or you can apply via your AIFS student portal. That is there. Susanna, this is you.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of where the meat of our program lies.
Yes.
So we like to be creative in all things, and with imagination, you'll get there. It takes work. I will say it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's not free money falling out of the sky.
There's no golden ticket.
No, you do have to put some work into it, but there are
Gotta
little
hustle.
yeah, but there are also little things that you can do that don't feel like work that add up and that really make that bank account grow in order to go to study abroad. So we're going to go over a few of these. The main ones would be lifestyle changes, virtual ideas, crowdfunding, and then back to basic ideas. And then at the end, we have a few real life student examples to share with you. Some really awesome students that did some hard work, but it paid off in the long run.
Awesome. Before we do that, we're going to give you a little poll. So this is the audience participation part number 2. According to financial guru Susie Orman, what is the fastest way to save up money? What do you think? Is the fastest way to money to see your bank account grow? Is it getting a part-time job? Is it B, opening a savings account? Is it C, cutting down on your monthly expenses? Or is it D, working more hours at your current job? How can you see that little balance grow in your bank account? Let us know. Vote. I see a lot of you are voting in the chat.
I'm seeing everyone is voting for C.
Everybody's voting for C. Geez, we have the smartest group in the world. That's right. Cutting down on how much you spend every month is the best way to see your bank balance rise. I'm going to switch. Oh, sorry, I left. There we go. So, Susan.
Yeah, so the biggest part of cutting down your current expenses is to look at your habits. And save some money. And I know it's hard when everyone says, oh, you have to save money. You're like, I don't know how, I'm trying. But there are some ways to really help that. And so I know that I'm guilty of more than one of these. But the first one is buy a coffee maker for your home instead of going to a coffee shop several times a day. I know that I was very guilty of doing this in terms of going to Starbucks and buying, it's just a $3 coffee, like it's fine. It doesn't do much. But when you buy $1, $2, $3 coffees a day, that really adds up in the long run. So by getting myself a coffee machine or just buying jugs of coffee for $5 that lasts me the whole week, that saves money in the long run. Again, guilty of eating out more often than I probably should. And I should probably learn to cook anyways. So it's kind of the perfect trade-off. But maybe instead of eating out 3 days a week, bump it back to 1 day a week. And that'll save money. Put that money that you would spend directly to go out into the account, just to make sure that it's all set. Again, also guilty of buying too much online. Change your passwords. I've done that before.
Oh, that's good.
Where I put things on hold, or I will add something to my cart, and if I'll let it sit there, and if I don't think about it for the next week, then I just won't buy it. So things like that can really help, or only buying things you really actually need. Again, everyone's guilty of it. It's fine, but in order to save some money, they do add up. Set up a keep the change savings account with your bank. I know that my bank is kind of interesting in the fact that if it's not like a straight zero amount, so if it's not $20 flat, the extra change will automatically go into my savings account. So that's a way to help, and I don't have to do anything with it. It automatically does it itself. If students do have time and availability, potentially get a part-time job. If it's around the holiday time and you're really good at gift wrapping, I'm not, but if you are, maybe go and gift wrap at a local store or pick up a job, food delivery. That's a big thing now. Overnight hours, whatever works with your schedule. This is an option. It doesn't work for everyone, so don't feel like this is what you have to do. Stop a habit. smoking, drinking coffee or soda, and put that money in your travel fund. This is a big one. If you have a credit card or are thinking of one, I don't encourage this off the bat. You just have to do your research going into it. But look at a card that either will give you cash back or points. That can be really great, especially if you have to buy your own flights or if you do want to travel while you're abroad. Look into that to see if that'll help you. I also like to point out, if you do want to use a credit card or a debit card while you're abroad, which is probably a good idea, to look into getting a debit card or a credit card that doesn't have international transaction fees. That will help you save money as well, so that every time you take out money while you're abroad or use your card, you're not getting whacked with a huge fee on top of it. So that's more so when you are abroad, but something to be aware of when you do go.
Yeah.
And then also, leading up to going abroad, if you do get gifts for holidays or birthdays, maybe ask for things you need. I know before I went abroad in the spring semester, so it was right around the holidays, and I asked for suitcases because I had none. And I got suitcases and I got adapters and like a passport holder to go abroad. And that was so beneficial to me because that would have been XYZ money I would have had to spend upfront as well. So
agree.
just keep these things in mind.
I agree. Oh, I was just going to suggest, sorry to cut you off there. Looking at your, your month spending on your debit card and just see where you're spending your money and think, I'm spending too much money eating out. I'm spending too much on Amazon Prime, or I'm spending too much, and try really focusing on that one area, cutting that down instead of trying to live completely like a monk. Try one little thing that you can start. Maybe that's a good idea.
The other thing that isn't on here, but that I recently started doing is looking through my subscriptions. I have subscriptions for things that I don't even use. So why am I paying $10, $20 a month? And you can look at that fairly easily, but that might be one way to save yourself. Even $20 a month can really go a long way. So look at subscriptions.
That's a really good one. Exactly. All right. The other thing that we want you to do is, ask for support. Think about, what your networks are, right? And using them, asking for support and help. And you'd be surprised. Everyone usually gets a little prideful. They get a little shy. They think, oh, they don't want to help me. You'd be surprised. Remember that this is an investment in your education. This program is going to help form you into a better adult, a better citizen of our country, a better citizen of the world. And so it is something that your networks can really get behind and show your support. You're definitely worth it. And think about what your networks are, what your school, your current school, your former school, your community, your religious organizations, your sports networks. Everyone should know and be aware of that you're planning to go abroad and how they can help fund you. And you really have to tell them. You have to tell them your story, your major, your school, your background, your future goals. Is it grad school? Is it a dream job? And then really relate it to study abroad. How is study abroad going to impact those future goals, right? How are they going to help you get into grad school, help you get that dream job? Maybe the courses you're going to study abroad, that you're going to take when you're abroad, maybe the places you're going to visit when you're abroad, the skills you're going to really learn and hone when you're abroad. How are they going to help you become what you're going to become? A really interesting thing that parents love is data, right? There are a lot of studies out there. AIFS has done our own studies. A lot of study abroad organizations have, a lot of schools have, and there are statistics on study abroad outcomes. The ones that we gave you before, right? The percentage of students that study abroad, there's a lot of statistics that tell you that once you study abroad and you present that at a job interview, you're twice as likely to hear you're hired than not. So there's a lot of statistics out there. The University of California at Merced has sort of on their Study Abroad website, they have listed a lot of the most interesting statistics. So if you Google UC Merced Study Abroad statistics, you'll be able to find them and start to cite them to people that you want support from. Post photos, fun facts about the city, the country, the program, include your funding information, right? How can they support you financially, and how can they get you the money? It's important to let them know that. So put it on your Facebook, because remember, the millennials and older, the ones that have the steady jobs, that are making the money, that can give you that financial support, we're all on Facebook. So definitely get on Facebook and ask for support. Ask them to reshare your story, and it can go, it can become a wave of support, hopefully. Make a video of the program, the country, the city, make a TikTok video, disclose how the funds will be used, why a donation makes a difference, right? Talk about how much your program costs, how much you need to supplement, for meals and independent travel, things like that. And then post and repost and ask them to share. Like I said, GoFundMe, Venmo, there's lots of examples of study abroad students that you can look at, copy the way that they have sort of presented their information. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sorry, Suze, you're up. That leads us to those sites.
Perfect. So we did mention the crowdfunding sites along with Facebook, but this is specific to sites like GoFundMe. So just going over this, we know that some students really lean on this, but in general, we tell students to do their research going into this, understand what are the parameters of using a site like this, and then again, find one that works best for you. If it's a GoFundMe-like site, great. If it's not, great. Do what works best for you. But as Paula said, it's really important to tell your story. Use that personal statement again, upload images, upload videos, do what you can to really make it an interactive experience and they feel like they know who you are. Write a description, make sure it includes where you're coming from, where you're going, what your major is, and how study abroad will impact you. You want to have all of that in there so they, again, know what they're supporting. This goes into the next piece, explain what it'll be used for. If it's going toward tuition, if it's going toward program fees, activities, if it's spending money, if it's flights, whatever that may be, make sure that's in there. Again, just to explain everyone where it's coming from. Post updates and comments, say thank you, put on an email alert. If someone donates, you'll get an email or a notification that says this person donated. Keep track of that, respond to them right away and thank those people that do donate. And then again, make sure you keep the names of those people with their amounts for later on. And send regular updates when you are abroad, whether that means, hey, you sent me $5, I'm gonna send you a postcard, just to really put that personal spin on it. So think of little things you can do like that. Share the campaign across all social media sites and by email. We use email, but also, as Paula said, Facebook is a great opportunity. I know that I am guilty of falling down the TikTok rabbit hole pretty much every night. But one of the things that I've seen that's really cool is people will post about wanting to go abroad or go to college on TikTok. And they'll have random strangers come in and say, hey, I want to donate $5, or hey, I have $100, let me send this to you. So maybe that's the platform that you look into and use. So it can be any platform, but just keep different platforms in mind. Set up different giving levels or tiers. Say, hey, if you do $1, I'll send you a personalized email to say thank you, or $5, I will send you a postcard. If it's $10, I will get you a small little gift and send it back to you, or cookies or whatever that may be. I know, Polly, you always tell the story about the student in her church, and once she reached a certain amount of money, she went back and gave a whole explanation of her time abroad and did a whole presentation. Right. So maybe it's something like that that you go into, or you do like a walking tour of the city while you're there on Facebook Live.
Right.
Whatever it may be, it can be something small and exciting that you don't have to put too much work into, but it's a way to say thank you. And then the final and probably biggest piece of this all is that, remember, if you do cancel and end up not going abroad, all of the money should be returned back to where it came from. So that's why it's really important to keep track of everything and to let people know if plans change, what's going on. So the updates are really important.
Right. Awesome. Virtual fundraisers.
Yeah, we are still in a virtual setting, although fingers crossed, I feel like everything's sort of moving in the right direction, but we are still virtual right now in order to keep everyone safe. But there are things that you can do that we took from being in person. So it's just adapting these into a different platform. So the first one is really using your talent. Are you an artist? Can you sing? Do you do comedy? Is this something that you can do on an online platform and say, hey, for $5 you can join this comedy show, or I'm doing a like a paint and sip on Facebook Live, and $5 and I'll send you any ideas as to what you need. But this could be a really good idea and something to showcase that talent. Similar to a masterclass. Do you code? Can you tutor students? Do you paint? Can you sew? Do you cook? A cooking class? I would sign up for a cooking class. So exciting. Ask for donations and say, hey, pay what you think it's worth. And those will go toward my time abroad, but I get to teach you something. So that could be really exciting. Do a 50-50 raffle. This is fairly easy. An online auction. Again, are you an artist? Do you paint? This could be something really cool to sell on eBay. And all that money goes to your time abroad. Online yard sale platforms like Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, Depop. I know I have to clean out my closets. I should probably do that. You can put the stuff on Facebook Marketplace or Poshmark, and that money can go toward your time abroad as well. And I know this last one Paula does, so I'll let you speak about this one, Paula.
So when I like I told you before, I was in Spain for many years. When we moved back to the US, most of our furniture stayed in Spain. We had to start and furnish kind of a whole house from scratch. So I hit the thrift stores, I hit flea markets, and I would, start sanding down, repainting, upcycling furniture. I discovered after a while I furnished the house, but I really liked it. I really liked doing it. So I started to put my upcycled finds on Facebook Marketplace, and people were actually buying it. So it's a hobby that I turned into a little side hustle. And I think that if you're, handy with a sander and a paintbrush, then there's an idea, and you can make at least double your money. That's generally what I shoot for. All of what I paid for it, plus all the materials that I used, and I charge double. So yeah.
And hopefully, again, as I said, I think we're trending in a good direction in terms of getting everything back to quote unquote normal. But when we can be face to face again and in person, all the things that I just mentioned can definitely be translated into an in-person type of event. But some other ideas would be mow lawns, rake leaves, general yard work. A lot of people advertise on nextdoor.com, or if you're in, like, I know I'm in my town's Facebook group, and they're always saying, hey, can someone mow my lawn or shovel my driveway or walk my dog for a weekend? That might be a good idea if you have the time and the ability to do so. Recycle bottles. It goes a long way. I always tell the story. One of my best friends in college collected bottles all year, and she would go on Saturday nights or Sunday mornings to all of the townhouses and collect everyone's bottles. She made about $10,000 in a year just collecting bottles. So it does take a little bit of work, but there could be a good payoff. Bake sales, make a menu, use social media, ask your professors, ask your friends. If there's a club on campus and they want to do a bake sale, split the profit. That could be an idea. Yard sales, take donations from neighbors, sell drinks and food. Babysitting, I did a lot of babysitting to save up for my time abroad. My professors were wonderful, but they also had kids and they needed people to watch the kids. So I was more than happy to do that. If you are part of a local church or a local organization, maybe host a spaghetti dinner night, pancake breakfast, ice cream social. Again, you can split the profits. Half goes to the organization, half goes to you. A way to support you and your organization. A bingo night or a game. Host a concert, again, for all of our musicians or artists out there. That could be a really good idea. A car wash. I know I did them a lot in high school for all sports teams, but that could be fun. Holiday gift wrapping. I'm not talented in that department, so I would happily pay someone to wrap my gifts for me, especially if I knew that it was going to a good cause like study abroad. And also paint and sips can be really fun dependent on when you do them. And again, say, hey, donate what you think it's worth and it'll go a long way. So different things to look into for when we get back to normal. If you have time, a little goes a long way. You can pick and choose. But again, this can be an awesome opportunity.
All right, last poll. This is a question that we get a lot, so we threw this in there. How much spending money, right? So for personal stuff, do you think that you'll need, or that most students recommend for food, free time, independent travel? So how much do you think you'll need per month? Well, is it A, 500 a month, B, 800, C, 1,000 a month, or D, $1,250? You can vote in the chat. Of course, we had to asterisk that it's relative to personal tastes and spending habits. We have students who can live quite frugally, and we have students that just cannot resist a good Zara in Spain, or a Gucci purse in Florence. But so it will depend on your personal budget, but on average, and we had quite a few students vote. So do you have any idea?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. A lot of the B's, a few A's, a couple C's and D's sprinkled in there. So
okay, well, most students say they need about 1,000 a month. And that would be for food, free time. You want to get out there and enjoy yourself while you're there, and about probably one independent travel trip a month. So that's about 1,000 per month of the program. Of course, like we said, if you don't do much independent travel or you limit it to in-country, it could be less. If you want to do more independent travel and travel even further, and you like your odd Gucci purse there, then you better plan on a little more. All right, so I'm going to give you some real life examples super quick. I don't want to read what they wrote for us, but Angelica was a student that I worked with who did a Barcelona Spring 2017. So it's been a few years now, but she did create a baking business. So she, super important was it created a half-page menu. And on one side, she did an explanation of herself, her study abroad program, so put some beautiful photos of Barcelona on there and her goals, right? So she made it very personal. And on the back, she listed like 6 different items and their pricing that people could order. She photocopied it and brought it around. So she didn't really leave the menu, so she didn't have to make a lot of photocopies, but she would take it around to the different offices on campus, faculty office, admin offices, student service offices, and she would talk to everybody and take orders, bring the orders home, and that night she, her sister, her mom, I think, they all helped and did the baking. And then the next day she would go back and do she would collect the money and she would do the delivery of the baking. She also shared a lot on her Facebook, her social media, and asked friends to share. And she got some big orders there. She got cupcakes for a baby shower. I think she even had an engagement party, and she had some big ticket orders that way. And I think it was 3 months she did this and made $1,500 after, right? Because that was her profits after supplies. So that was pretty good. Ada is a student I worked with fairly recently. She went to Costa Rica winter of 2020. I like this. I know that winning a radio contest is a random thing, but you never know, right? So we in the Los Angeles area have a local radio station that does this contest. Ryan Seacrest is on the air, and you send in one of your bills, and she sent in her car payment. And you have to listen to the radio every hour from like 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. He calls someone's name, and you have a half hour to call back. So she was super organized about it. She made sure she had the number programmed in her phone, and she made sure that she told everybody she knew that she had sent in her bills, that she was trying for this contest, and could they please all listen to the radio as often as they could to this station. One of her friends heard her name be called and called her right away. She was able to call back to the radio station. She won the prize, and it was like $1,000. So that was awesome. Organized and used her network, right? Her network was supporting her. They were behind her, helping her achieve that goal. This was a giant yard sale. This was a student who also went on that Barcelona program in spring 2017. She did a 2-day yard sale. Smart, because not only did she clean out her closets and had her mom clean out her closets, but she went around to friends, neighbors, and asked them to donate stuff. Right? So they all cleaned out their closets, and she had a giant 2-day yard sale. She sold all of those old clothes, shoes, books, toys, furniture, whatever they could donate. She worked really hard to advertise for the yard sale, also set up for it, got up at the crack of dawn, actually in the middle of the night, and then started the yard sale at the crack of dawn. If you're a yard seller, you know those people that want something good, they go early. So she had to get up and get it all ready and make sure that she was open on time. Also sold drinks and snacks at the yard sale. I thought that was really smart, right? She capitalized on having it being really hot out. So she had fresh, cold drinks and people being hungry for baked goods. So she did that as well. I thought that was really smart. And then we had a student that really just, her strategy was to ask for a contribution, a very small amount, $2 to everyone she met. So she made this little card. This is the front and the back, and she had enough chutzpah to go up to everybody she met, strangers in the supermarkets, people on campus, and she asked for a small donation. She made over $2,000 with that card. So that one takes a lot of guts. You know, you have to be very forward and not afraid to approach strangers, but she did, and it paid off. So those are our real life examples. That was all of the ideas we had. We would love to feature you on our presentation for next time. So if anyone sort of has a even better idea than what we came up with, or if you put together something that, you know, today we sparked an idea and you set up a project, we'd love to hear back from you. You'll have our email. We emailed you this Zoom link, and feel free to email us anytime with your sort of testimony and your photos. We'd love to include it in this. Any questions? We'll be taking questions now, thoughts, ideas. Use the chat box or feel free to unmute yourself. And then if you'd like more information on AIFS study abroad programs, scholarships, there's the QR code, or you can just visit our website. Yeah. Suze, you'll look at the chat box because I'm still sharing my screen.
No worries. Feel free, if you do have questions, to type them in the chat box. We'll be happy to answer them. I do have one question from a little early on. I just have to find it. Paula, do you have an example of a school that has a good website about funding study abroad, or have we mentioned one before? I can't think of one off the top of my head.
That has a good funding study abroad website. That has a good amount of resources. Well, I work primarily in my area with the community colleges. I know that Fullerton College Study Abroad, they have a pretty good website that does include quite a bit of the funding resources. I work with Citrus College, which is another community college in my area that also has a really good resource section. I just off the top of my head, they're the two that kind of, and they're the small community colleges. I know that the larger colleges with larger study abroad offices have even more resources.
Yeah, I just had someone in the chat point out University of Minnesota has a great scholarship website, so check that out. And then we also mentioned the university that we mentioned in our presentation was UC Merced, and they are the ones with the statistics and the data. So that's the one we directly mentioned, but if any advisors here have some study abroad funding websites that they want to shout out, please feel free. We would love to hear those.
Yeah. AIFS did We have, we did a longitudinal study in 2011 and then again in 2017 on study about outcomes. And that information is in the AIFS Abroad website under, I believe, publications, under the advisors section. But we list statistics that we gathered from our returning students, but the Merced kind of cites our study as well as several others. So it's interesting to look at that.
And just some insight from Ryan at UTA. Another good idea for our advisors to think about is to partner with departments on campus. They mentioned that the office does a joint presentation with the Student Money Management Center each semester, so that can introduce students to good savings, budgeting strategies, and tools that can be applied to their study abroad experience. And that's phenomenal. So definitely recommend checking that out on university campuses and students looking for those resources as well. I'm not seeing any additional questions. If you do have questions, please feel free to type that. We'll hang out a little bit. We understand if you have places to be, people to see, things to do, don't feel obligated. Again, we're recording, so if you do have to pop out, we'll just send you the recording after.
But we'll also send the presentation itself, so.
Perfect. And also, I'm not entirely sure if we mentioned this previously, but for our advisor friends here, if you wanted this presentation modified and presented on campus to a select group of students, we're happy to do that for you as well. Feel free to reach out to either myself or Paula. Perfect. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I guess that means we did a good job. But if you do have questions, you know where to find us. Paula and I will hang out here for a couple more minutes. But thank you everyone for joining us today. We really enjoy you coming, and we love giving this presentation. It's always a highlight of
our favorite.
Yeah, we love this one. So as always, if you have additional questions, let us know. We'll hang out, but I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you all soon. I feel like my fan is so loud, Paula.
No, I can't hear. You always say that about your gardeners, right? The people that
it's landscaping.
Landscapers, that's what they are.
Window, so that's why I was like, oh, I need my fan. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna stop the recording, Paula.
Yes.